Okay, just a little small tutorial. I know a lot of people having some issues with the newer Dexcom G6 transmitters. So, so here's the thing. When when you're approaching your 10 days of your transmitter and you've got one of these newer 8G, 8H style transmitters and you want to start and restop or reset the sensor, not the transmitter, but the sensor, you have to go into the settings. I've already stopped mine, but I'm going to show you. Go to your system status. And when you first stop the sensor, you're going to see here right in the section right around the I think it's right above the slowest wake up. It's going to have something there that says Q, and it's going to say stop pending, something like that. All right, that means that it's waiting to send the signal to the sensor to stop. Okay, you don't want to pull the transmitter out until it actually says stopped up here in the sensor status. As you can see, mine says stopped, and the one that was in the queue is now gone. So that means it's stopped. All right, so then you want to wait around 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes, whatever, but you want to wait about 30, 40 minutes. And then you put the transmitter back in, and let me get me I'm sorry, I apologize, I forgot to get an alcohol. I need to clean my transmitter. So you put the transmitter back in, and you do not immediately start it back up. You put the transmitter in and you wait until it shows up and it says like it says got no raw, something like that. It says up here. So as soon as you put it in, you don't want to immediately start it. You want to wait until it recognizes it back in the transmitter and in the sensor, and then start it. Sometimes people have problems when they start a new sensor because they stick the transmitter in and then they immediately hit start sensor, and you do not want to do that. Now, so once you get the transmitter plugged back in, if you need to watch a video on how to take your transmitter out of the sensor, there's tons of videos on YouTube on how to do that. It's not. Wait a minute. Oh, I got my shirt hung in. I'm trying to put my sensor back in. I missed it. All right, so I just plugged mine back in. I think I didn't get it in there quick enough. It's scanning right now. I don't know if I got it back in there quick enough. Maybe. Pairing. Yes, it said got data. So I think I got it in there in time before it did. If you're not sure, you can always wait another 5 minutes until it connects again. But you want to make sure that that sensor is in there and it has time for the transmitter to recognize it before you start it. Let me go over here. Go to think this thing is view event logs. It doesn't show on here. Anyway, so like I said, if it doesn't, once you put the sensor in, wait 5 or 10 minutes to make sure that it's in there, it gets a reading, and then start the sensor. Once the new sensor starts, you're going to have to do the 2-hour warm-up period. Cannot get around that with the newer style transmitters. The other big problem that I've had now on every one of these that I've done is when it does come back up, it's going to be off anywhere between 90 to 100 points high. As you can see, mine stopped reading. My blood sugar was around 161, and I just finished eating, so I don't know where it's going to be at when it comes back online two hours from now. But I can guarantee you, now I've done it enough times that I know for a fact it's going to be high. It's going to be between 90 to 100 points high. It is every single time. And where a lot of people make a mistake is they try to calibrate it all at one time, and you cannot do that. This is the way I do it. Now, maybe somebody can shed some more light and I can learn from somebody else, but what I've had good success in doing is be patient, take it slow, take it small steps at a time. So let's just say, for example, when mine comes back online in a little over 2 hours from now, let's say it's 260, okay? I'll know it's going to be close to 100 off. I will put in a calibration, initial calibration of 20, okay? Now, you're going to get an error. It's going to pop up an error on the screen at the bottom of the screen, and then it's going to, in the view events log, it's going to show that the calibration was deleted. Don't worry about it. As long as the transmitter accepts it, you'll see it in the log. It'll say calibration accepted by transmitter. As long as that's happened, it took the calibration. Okay? Now, I've tried it different ways. I've tried calibrating like every 20-30 minutes, and I've had some failures trying to do it that much. I think there's actually a limit on how many times per day you can enter a calibration. And it really is frustrating when you're that far off, when you're 100 points off, and you can only bring it down a little bit at a time. It takes a long time to get it back down into the normal range. And the last time I did this, I got down to where it was within, I want to say it was within 15 points of being right on. And guess what happened? It was one time too many, either for that day or whatever. And whenever you do it too many times in a certain period or too much at one time, you're going to get an error at the bottom of the screen. It's going to say calibration 1, something or another. I forget exactly what it says. But when you see that, you can hang it up. You might as well, go ahead and do stop sensor and pop the transmitter out, because once you see that error, there's no recovering from it. Now, I've had success in popping the transmitter out, waiting 30 minutes, putting the transmitter back in, going through this process all over again. But you got to bring it down slowly, and if you do it, little bit at a time, and like I said, I don't know the hard and fast rule as to how many times a day, but what I did the last time, which worked, and it lasted for a full 10 days extra, was I did it get 20 points the first time. I waited about, well, no, I didn't do anything. Let me go back up a little bit. I didn't try to calibrate it at all right at first. I waited an hour before I did any calibrations. I knew it was high. Now, I'm not type 1 diabetic, so I understand, but I didn't do any calibrations for the first hour. After that, I did 20 points, and then in the next hour, I believe I did another 15 or 20, and then I waited another, hour and a half, 2 hours, and then I did like 15 points, and then every so often I would do another 15. But what I'm getting at is I don't know the hard and fast rule, but don't be in too big a hurry. If you know how far it's off, just bring it down, do it a few times, wait till the next day after 24 hours and do it another time or two. But when you start getting down at the very bottom, I would only do 10 points at a time, or 15. And don't do it too many times in one day, because if you do it too many times in one day, it's going to throw the calibration 1 error code, and you cannot recover from that. You have to start all over. And when you start all over, it's going to be 100 points or 90 points off it every single time. So let me go back and check mine now. Okay, so mine should be updating 1509. I believe it's already updated 10, 11, 12. I'll wait a few more minutes anyway, just to make sure. So that's all I have for this video. But you can successfully do these, but they are a pain in the rear. You have to be careful. It's going to be off when you restart it. You got to prepare for that, and you got to do blood tests. You got to know how far it's off. Mine is consistently every single time is between 90 to 100 points high, and if I take my time like I did the last time, I was able to bring it down slowly over a period of a couple of days, and I was able to continue to finish using it all the way out through the 10 days. Another thing that is very important with using Xdrip and any of these Dexcom G6 sensors, don't panic too much if you see it come up and it says sensor stopped or sensor errors or something like that, because that is the same thing as you get on the Dexcom receiver or the Dexcom app. It happens from time to time. Sometimes it can be the sensor, sometimes it can just be your body. I've had it happen. I had one, I think it was 2 sensors ago, that had a lot of trouble with it, and Dexcom did replace it, but I was able to continue using it even though the thing would quit running 2 or 3 times out of the day. Sometimes it quit running for 30 minutes or an hour. Sometimes it'd quit for 2 or 3 hours, but it always come back. So be patient if you can and wait it out, because if it says sensor errors 99% of the time, it's going to come back. You just may have to wait a while, and sometimes if the blood glucose value is changing rapidly, is usually when I see it. Not always, but a lot of times if it's changing rapidly, sometimes that's when it will occur. But if you just be patient and wait a couple of hours, 3 hours, it'll usually come back. And if you're like me and you self-pay for these things and they're expensive, you do everything you can to try to make them last. So that's it. I'm gonna mine has already done it, so I'm going to go in here and start the sensor. Make sure I got my code. And you got to do it at the current time. That is Okay, so it says code accepted, and it says new sensor started. And so now you have to wait the 2 hours, and then after 2 hours, you know, it will pop up and it will be high. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps somebody. If you got any other questions, I'll try to answer them. And by the way, I'm using a Samsung Galaxy S Plus with I believe the latest version of Xdrip as of this date. And that's it. Thank you.